beyond thought. Our whole life, we know exactly that which our mind tells us. And from our childhood, we have these dreams and achievement and everything that's all created in the mind. And yet, when you get the first glimpse of something beyond the mind. Now, this can happen anytime. This can happen when you're watching a sunset. This can happen when you're doing yoga, meditation, you're playing, dancing, music. It can happen at sex. It can happen anytime, even when you have a herb or a drug for the first time. And suddenly you begin to realize that you're not all the mind. Rather, the mind is a tool that allows you to live life well. And it's also a tool that often causes a lot of suffering. But this first glimpse that there's something to you beyond the mind, this is very important. Back in the day, Black Sabbath sang, when I first met you, didn't realize, they're singing about Sweet Leaf, about marijuana. I didn't realize you introduced me to my mind. So whatever is that, the first time that you get introduced to the mind and realize that that's not all of you, that is very important. Now the ancient yogis, the great masters, they always said that life is really, really vast. Existence is vast. And therefore there's an innate urge in a human being, and all of us are defined by this, an urge to evolve. Now this could take on any dimension. You may be interested in expanding your business and interested in expanding your family. In either way, you have an urge to somehow expand, to grow and to evolve. But in yoga, yogis are interested in something different, something a lot more. Not just the material, because they understand that's finite, but once you fall and you glimpse that you're much more than the mind, this vast silence, this vast emptiness within, then you want to stay connected to that, and then that process begins. Now, whether it's the Buddha saying that all life is suffering and then you have to find a way out of that, or whether it's Patanjali saying that the wise realize in the sutras, the wise realize that all life is suffering, whatever it is, whether you get what you want in life or you don't get what you want in life, you still suffer. And therefore, you want to find something beyond the mind. You go beyond. Now, this whole process, then you've got techniques, you've got yoga, you've got asana, pranayam, kriyas, mudras, but you just want to go a little deeper. Now, this is fascinating because we have invested so much of ourselves in the continued expression of who I am. It's been 40 years since I've been alive, so I've continuously built, or my mind has built, this idea of who I am, Manish, and this and this and that. We are so invested in it that we find it almost difficult to let go, to surrender. And yet it's that identity that's causing us the pain. Essentially, yogis understand that we are the cosmos. I am the cosmos, but for some reason, I have a limited sense of self. I've identified with just this body-mind. And that ahamkara, that identity, individuation, is important for survival. Without survival, I won't take care of this. But beyond that, it doesn't serve my needs. And this is causing so much of misery, loneliness, sadness to people around the world. 7.5 billion people, and so many of them are feeling lonely. It makes no sense. Because what is meant for survival is now being used for everything. But essentially, you don't have to expand. You're already expanded. The spirit is infinite. But what has to happen is that you drop this limited sense of self. And we call this as kaivalya. The self standing in its own light, not associating with my life story, with my mind, with my body. Now, once this first glimpse has happened, and even if you get this 1 minute daily, wherein you are completely silent and your life is on the periphery, then you cannot be too attached to your career, you cannot be too attached to your relationships. If that glimpse has not happened, and you think that mentally you're going to detach and you're going to tell yourself, I am not the body, I am not the mind, that's rubbish, because it's the body mind, it's the mind body that's making that. And it may be an important thing to remind yourself, but it'll only happen when that glimpse happens, when you drop into self. And once that happens, like I said, your relationships, your career, you cannot be too bothered about it. It's almost like water on the duck's back. But not careless at all. In fact, the strange things happen that you will do better at your work, better at your relationships, because now you want to be efficient. You want to do things in a way that saves you time, because you have a purpose now. You want to explode deep within. So you need to have the time and space for that. So you'll be much better at your work. In terms of your relationships, you'll find that you're infinitely better because you've connected to that which is infinite in you. And therefore, love is infinite, and you can continuously love, and therefore your relationships get better. So everything in life gets better, even though you understand that this is not all of you. And now a process, a journey has begun. Techniques are being used so that you can start to connect with that which is you. Now please note that this is not conceptual. If your mind is trying to tell you to drop it, that will never work. In fact, that's more dangerous. That's the most difficult ego or ahamkara to overcome, because the mind trying to drop itself is crazy. Never works. Essentially, the part of you that is trying to drop is not there. In meditation, you are not there. So there is nobody there to drop the mind. It has dropped. And that is where the surrender to process is important. I hope you're getting this. It's a very subtle point, but very important. You are not there to drop the mind. That's meditation. As long as you are trying to drop, as long as you are trying to transcend, nothing really happens, because you cannot be there in that silence. So then there's a whole process. There's a 5,000, 10,000 year old lineage. It's been going on since eternity across the world, and very well preserved in the Indian traditions. Yoga, meditation, and so on and so forth. Now, mindfulness is often like a balm that you put to soothe your wound. Yeah? You continue being who you are, but you eat a little slower, you breathe a little slower, you be a little bit more present. But then it is a balm, it's not the full cure. Yoga, meditation is a lot deeper. You start to question who you are. You go to the real source of trying to find out who you are. This mind-body operates very efficiently, but only on the periphery. This is the beauty of Kaivalya, this is the beauty of yoga and meditation. Now, a lot of people feel very terrified of this process, because essentially I have to go beyond, I have to surrender my entire life plan. Who I am, my dreams, who I want to be, it's all created in my mind. And to let go of that is very, very tough. And it gets tougher year and year and year. When I was 22, I went to live with my guru. It took me 1.5 years of living with him and resisting, and then a process of surrender happened. Now, it's not mandatory for everybody to do that, but it's a beautiful way to do it, because it showed me that after 1.5 years of yoga, philosophy, meditation, everything I tried, still I could not transcend. And when I was no more there, that happened. The process happened. Now, I would suggest that you surrender to a process. Learn a kriya, learn a technique, and then keep working on it daily. You don't do yoga for flexibility or for losing weight or to pull up a handstand or to become calmer. These are small goals. Dream big. Go for the bigger goals. Ask yoga to give you everything, to give you an idea of who you are. Don't settle for the small stuff. Ask yoga, because it has the power, it has the technique, it has the science to give you the know-how of who you truly are. So find a teacher, find a technique that suits your temperament, because you cannot have one that fits all. Find one that really suits you and then go for it. Explore that and then understand whether that's giving you everything. This is the only way to go beyond thought otherwise a lifetime will pass, and when it's 70 and you're ready to die, you would have still spent your whole life just in your mind, in your story. To come out of the mind, to go beyond thought, to understand what is beyond thought, is the urge that we all have to evolve. Now, be very clear first. Have you glimpsed something beyond the mind? If you have glimpsed, then that will motivate you daily. And if it motivates you daily, what are the techniques to keep doing it? I wish you all the very best on that journey.